Production underwriting for Ruckus has been made possible in part by the generous contributions from Fred and Lou Hartwig and from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon, joined by the Ruckettes, attorney Steve Marakian, consultant Mary O'Halloran, editorial writer Yael Abu-Haka, and Urban League CEO Gwen Grant. Let's start with what might reasonably be called the interminable terminal debate. It is 3 against 1. Should we keep the current 3-terminal airport alignment or adopt the approach advocated by the city's aviation director? It calls for redoing the 40-year-old structure, now apparently facing a midlife crisis, and compressing all the services, all the flights, all the security into one terminal. Anecdotal evidence seems to suggest the public is not ready to say goodbye to KCI as we know it. So, Gwen, is that the impression that you've been getting?
Absolutely. You know, we love our airport just the way it is. No changes, please. That's the way most people feel about the airport. But, you know, change is inevitable in this situation. And unfortunately, we're probably going to lose some of those amenities that we cherish so much, such as, you know, the curb to gate access that those of us who have to travel and often and are not always on time can still make our flights, you know, and that's really cool. You can't do that in so many other airports in the country. But the reality is that it's old and, you know, change is necessary. And so if we want to remain competitive, then we're going to need to make some changes. But what's important here is that how the city, as Yael stated in his column previously, how the city communicates that to the public, especially now that they're going to need public support to pass a bond to get the airport construction done. They're going to have to do a much better job of getting people to understand why these changes really are necessary and how, and they also have to be really, really diligent about the design. I mean, I think that, you know, if they can maintain the curb to gate as much as possible and you know, some of the other amenities, I think it'll be a good thing. But if you're a traveler coming into Kansas City and you say you have to change airlines or your flight gets canceled, it's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I think Mayor James made that point. You know, it's convenient for local travelers, but when you're running the airport, the convenience to local travelers is not the only consideration.
Well, I think there are 2 things that have come up in the last couple of weeks. One is this whole convenience argument, and I am in the line of a lot of people where, yeah, it's very convenient to get there, to get in and out. But convenience is not only measured by how well you can get into the airport. It also matters, well, how convenient is it to go to the restroom and not have to stand in the security line again? How convenient is it, well, wait a minute, I haven't eaten, I need to get some food. Oh, well, you got to go back out here. So there's more to convenience than just getting in there. That's one thing. The second thing is, right now the city has the 2 worst possible salesmen for this campaign. Mark Van Loo, who's the aviation director, very imperious, and Russ Johnson, who basically deigns to, you know, to have, if you have a different opinion, well, he will barely deign to talk to you. Now, with that said, what you're going to need, they also have one arm tied behind their back because they don't really have a design to show people that, here is your final design. Look, you really can walk 45 feet to the next, to the opening gate. So I think in the next year or so, actually 6 months or so, when they have a better design, they'll have to come up with James leading the way, not Van Loo, not Russ Johnson, leading the way of here's why this airport's better.
That's a good suggestion.
Or the terminal's better.
The mayor is so popular right now. Yes, that would be a good suggestion, Yael. However, I mean, we just need to start here with basics. Mr. Van Loo has told the people of Kansas City, you're going to have this whether you like it or not.
Yeah, not a very good opening gambit.
No, let's just start with that because it's important. And then, you know, he doesn't have a design. But you can see the pieces falling into place. And why are they falling into place? The people of the city do not want this to change. But guess who does? The airlines want it to change. The people who sell cement want it to change.
The federal government wants it to change.
Well, the federal government has not been as demanding about this, as Mr. Van Loo has tried to let on.
No, but concerns about security are initiated by the federal government.
They have not initiated any rejection of the way we do business.
But they're concerned about security and the fact that it's more costly now than it needs to be.
But they are not concerned about the security in this
Here's something I've never been clear on. Maybe somebody can help me. First, the cost, is that over $1 billion?
Yeah, $1 billion too.
Now, where does the money come from?
Good question.
It's going to come from the people who use it.
The users' fees.
Plus the parking, all the concession stuff, all the sales.
Here's my third question.
Federal money,
here's third question. Who has the final decision? Who will decide what the new airport looks like, or if there is a new airport? Is that the city council?
Ultimately, yeah, they have to approve a plan that's feasible and is financially sound.
But the FAA will have
FAA can't say no, but they don't necessarily have the final say.
But Mike,
the PR people.
The questions you raised are, I think, the critical factor here. For me personally, I like the economic development idea, but if I were a voter in Kansas City, what I'd want to see is this going to produce economic benefit to Kansas City because it's going to cost $1.2 billion? I want to see a great plan. Yale's absolutely right. You need the plan, a shiny new airport, let people know it's going to be beautiful. But until they can convince people that it's actually going to make money for Kansas City and increase jobs and and give us a return, I don't think people are going to vote for it.
But it's not going to be beautiful. We know that. It's going to look like Denver.
Well, I like Denver.
We know what they look like.
I think some airports can look real nice.
There's a lot of passion on this. A lot of passionate people. I met one at Nordstrom's last Sunday who just sent me a lengthy email. But the point is, he lives in Johnson County, and he won't be able to play a determinative role.
No, and I did write a piece about that last week, pointing out that when there is a bond election for an airport that's used by people on both sides of the state line, in fact, it's almost majority on the Kansas side of the state line use the airport, Missourians, and specifically Kansas City, Missouri voters, will decide whether the bonds will be issued. And if indeed there is a need for bonds, which everybody now says there will be, we will be the ones making that decision in Kansas City. Well, so that's why the campaign is so important to convince people it's a better
airport. What the paper needs is to hear somebody. I know that they came in and presented their lovely recent ideas to all of you.
Right.
What you need at the paper is as somebody on the other side of the question who can lay out the reasons why this is not necessarily a great idea.
All right, this won't be decided for a while. I heard your colleagues from the Star on Kansas City Week in Review saying 5 years maybe before this is finally resolved.
I don't know about that.
Or 3 years.
It's going to get resolved before.
Or not tomorrow.
It won't get built before then.
Not next week. Members of Sam's Club, now we're talking about supporters of Governor Brownback, are pleased with the Kansas governor's nationally broadcast speech last weekend. Brownback offered the GOP response to the president's weekly radio address. Brownback says Washington is broken and needs to change. But change does not begin in Washington. It begins in the states such as Kansas.
The year I became governor, the state began the fiscal year with just $876.05 in the bank, less than $1,000, and a projected $500 million deficit. 2 years later, we had a $500 million ending balance and did it without tax increases.
Apparently, some journalists and critics thought Brownback was being a bit disingenuous about taxes. Yale, by chance, were you one of those?
I guess so, only because the facts didn't support what the governor said. That's a good reason. I mean, the reason they had a surplus was because a tax increase had been passed over the objections of many Republicans, but it was passed with the help of a Democratic governor, Mark Parkinson, and then both the House and Senate, barely in House and Senate. But a lot of Republicans had said, heck no, we're not going to do this, but they eventually did. And it raised hundreds of millions of dollars, which contributed to the surplus that the governor mentioned. And yes, there certainly were some budget cutbacks that the governor had to make during the recession. So he's absolutely, he's right about that. But to suggest, and this was his big lie, to suggest that they balanced the budget without a tax increase is not correct. They used the tax increase to have the money, to have the surplus. Now, you fast forward to this year when there are a lot of Republicans going, well, this is a temporary sales tax. We need to get rid of 6% or 6/10 of it. And a lot of Republicans going, yep, let's get rid of it. We didn't want it in the first place. Let's get rid of it. And now Brownback saying, no, let's keep the tax increase. Let's keep the tax increase.
Brownback never said he wanted to end it during his campaign, as I recall.
That's fine. But for him to cut all the income taxes and then say we're going to keep the sales taxes a little bit disingenuous.
One of the things the legislature did do, and Brownback wanted done, was Medicaid reform in the state, and he says that's going to save $1 billion over 5 years, Steve.
And I believe it will, but we have to wait and see. And this is where we've had this discussion before. I like the idea of the sales tax. I hope they keep it. And I like the idea of reducing the income tax, and particularly the income taxes on businesses, because I think that gives an opportunity. We'll see how it works. Okay? There has to be some tax revenue coming in. Those people who are anti all taxes, that's ridiculous. But Yale's right. Part of the increase was based on the sales tax increase that was adopted or passed through by Governor Parkinson. They ought to keep that, and they ought to keep moving forward. And the reduction or the changes in the Medicaid program, along with other changes they're making in terms of the budget, including schools, are very important parts of the overall formula. Let's see if it works. I think it will.
I want to ask you one other quick question before I hear from Mary. The state legislature passed a law. Now the governor appoints the appellate judges in the state. Not Supreme Court justices or judges, but appellate judges. You like that idea?
No, I'm not entirely opposed to the governor being involved. I like the idea of, for example, the panel. I like the approach we've had before. I don't have a problem with the governor being able to, let's say, have some control by appointing one more member that sort of gives the majority. I think elections have consequences, and I think governors should have influence. I don't like governors appointing appellate judges or Supreme Court judges.
Well, where to start, Mike? I mean, several editorials.
We'll find somewhere because we're almost out of time.
Every state in the paper has called the governor what Yale just called him. This opening salvo of his run for the presidency or the vice presidency or God knows what it is he actually wants to do when he gets out of Kansas. It couldn't be too soon for most Kansans at this point. Everything that he said is untrue. He hasn't saved a dime on Medicaid. If he's going to, which people are going to be cut? There isn't one dime that's been saved.
But before we move on, the question about how's Brownback doing and what do people, voters in the state, think of his goals and his administration, were they not validated by the election?
They're validated now by his very low polls, Mike. I mean, he's at 30, is it 32% approval? I can't remember.
Well, that's the O'Halloran poll.
No, it isn't, Mike.
Privately conducted.
These are statewide polls of Kansans.
We can't end a discussion on the Kansas legislature and Governor Brownback without discussing the omnipresent issue of abortion. Brownback is signing into law, we think, a measure described by the Reuters news service as a sweeping anti-abortion bill that bans Planned Parenthood from providing sex education materials in schools and defines life as beginning at conception. Despite that definition, the law apparently does not affect when or how abortions can be performed in the state. So, Attorney Steve Marakian, what is the point? Why include that?
There are several points. This legislation, and again, you don't win this battle. People's minds don't get changed over this thing. So you have to look at it from what they're doing. The legislature drafted this bill, quite frankly, drafted it very well in light of the current legal climate. They're not going to win this battle by having a bill such as you have in Arkansas, where you essentially say, no abortions anytime. The Supreme Court's made that very clear. The way you win this legislatively, and this is what all this bill is, and it's very popular amongst Kansans. You can tell by the vote in the House and the Senate. This is a direct frontal assault on Planned Parenthood. The idea is it's got 3 points. You attack it financially by taking away tax benefits and tax incentives. You try to dry up the money for Planned Parenthood. From a legal standpoint, you pass something that does not attack Roe v. Wade and specifically says we're not attacking Roe v. Wade. And the third part is politically. Politically, it's extremely popular, and it lays the foundation for future attacks on what the real goal is here. The real target is late-term abortion. That's why they put in the part about life begins at conception. This lays the foundation for later legislation. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when people are into this kind of thing, then you come back and you say, you can't be killing children when it's 7 or 8 months. You can't do it. That's what it's all about.
I like the way you laid that out, Steve, because I agree. I think that's really the strategy behind this. But I also think that there's backlash that should come behind this because of the assault on Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is also and assault on women's reproductive health. And that is the critical factor. This is what caused the Republican Party to be where it was
But most
in the last
Kansans
election.
don't agree, and that's why Kansas.
You know, they don't.
The majority of Kansans
you have
don't agree with you.
the Right to Life
because
group.
they're ignorant.
Thank you, Yale. I mean, you have the Right to Life group who is so focused on anti-abortion that they will throw all women and women's reproductive health under the bus to achieve that goal. And it's totally ridiculous. It's sinful. It's shameful.
Great. Well said. And, you know, let's just take one aspect of this. If this is about stopping abortion, then why in heaven's name would you want to stop sex education delivered by Planned Parenthood, Mike? Why would you not want every young girl to, just let me finish.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you,
Why
Mary,
would you not want to promote the best sex educators in the state, people who are trained to educate children at all levels about their sexuality? Secondly, this bill and the people supporting it do not even want to allow women to have abortions after 22 weeks in the case of rape and incest and all manner of other death-dealing ailments that women may have. This is an attack on Kansas women who are pregnant.
But the legislation doesn't say what you just said.
But that's the impact.
Well,
of the
it may be your idea of what they believe, but that's not what the law says.
Amendments to allow abortions after 22 weeks for rape or incest or maternal health were rejected by these people. These are the most extreme measures in the United States, other than possibly Arkansas and North Dakota. And it's hell-bent on getting a case to the Supreme Court so they can overturn Roe versus Wade, and it won't be done.
Does this hurt or help Brownback and the Republicans, this abortion legislation?
Oh, I think with very conservative Kansans, certainly, as Steve has kind of pointed out, it helps because you have that conservative feeling that, well, abortion is bad, i.e. Planned Parenthood is bad, although as I think Mary accurately pointed out, if you don't want abortion, you ought to be throwing money at Planned Parenthood. If there's some way to throw money at Planned Parenthood for abortion, for education, and then of course you can't do abortions. Now,
it's not just Planned Parenthood. Other organizations aren't allowed to distribute materials about sexuality and STDs, and that does seem unfortunate.
You know what that does to teachers and principals and superintendents? They're going to have to investigate anybody they let into school. Ridiculous requirement.
And those
to
parts
hand
of the bill
out
will never stand.
pamphlets.
And these are throwaway parts. That's exactly the point.
That's the please supporters, but not
exactly.
Pass judicial
it's political,
scrutiny.
And the court can strike those parts, but the bulk of the bill will withstand judicial scrutiny.
Okay, I think it's fair to say that Mayor Sly James' State of the City address was upstaged by a man being thrown off stage after approaching James and yelling an expletive or two. Star columnist Kevin Collison says that's unfortunate because the speech had substance and covered important economic development issues. One issue was the 1,000-room downtown convention hotel. James told his audience it's time for a thoughtful conversation. Collison says after several years of city review and $500,000 spent on studies, we've already had that conversation. So, Mary, what about you? You start the conversation. Are you down on or down with, as they say, a new downtown hotel?
I am personally, it kind of depends on the day. But on the other hand, I'm very upbeat about what a convention size hotel would do for this city. For many reasons, but the first one is that the Power and Light District is a problem for the city depending upon how the economy is doing. We are bleeding conventions in this city. Let's don't forget, let's go back to, let's take then and now. Then was 1973 and we finished Crown Center with a lot of public support, by the way. Crown Center became this absolutely marvelous attraction in this city, and it put Kansas City in the forefront of the country for conventions, not least of which was the Republican National Convention. I came here in '74 for the Democratic midterm convention. So we need a hotel.
Did you come back from the GOP gathering?
No, not at all.
Keynote speaker.
So what are we missing? What are we missing downtown? We are missing the opportunity for people to come to this town, go to an event, and stay in their hotel and walk or ride very briefly to their events. We have three things that we need. We have the facilities, we have the entertainment district, but what we don't have is the lodging. And here's the question that the people of Kansas City, now, good for you, Mayor. I'm on your side. The thoughtful conversation needs to start now, Mike, because under Funkhauser, there was not a thoughtful conversation. They did waste thousands and thousands of dollars on consultants and rejected everything that the consultants brought forward. It was a bad process.
So since we have all of these things in place now, I guess hotel operators are beating down our doors to build a hotel without public subsidy in Kansas City because they will make so much money from all these people wanting to come to conventions in Kansas City, wanting to go to the Power and Light District, wanting to go to Bartle Hall, which, by the way, we've expanded not once but twice since the 1990s because we will have a lot more conventioners, and in fact, we'll have a lot more need for convention hotels when we expand Bartle Hall. Guess what? We expand Bartle Hall and we don't have them. Hey, I'm not against a hotel personally.
Good.
I'm for a hotel that makes financial sense, which means, yes, there will be some kind of public subsidy. What the Funkhauser process found out, and that was with a lot of pro-hotel people like Cindy Serco, was, well, they want to take the store to build the hotel. They want to take all of us for our money and build a hotel. There was also a rumor at one point that, no, somebody was here, they were ready to move, but somebody drove them away, Funkhauser or, you know, the economy or whatever, and this has not been a great time to build a hotel. The bottom line is that you're not going to have somebody build a privately built hotel here. So all these reasons that Mary threw out, oh, this is a great place to build a hotel. No, it's not. It's a great place to build a hotel if we will financially subsidize it. Right. If the mayor, James, will bring a proposal to the people, says, hey, for $100 million we can do it, that'd be great. Although people will point to the Marriott and go, the Marriott, we're paying like $1 million a year for that thing right now, and it's still not making money.
So you reject the Funkhauser process. It was terrible.
No, I don't reject it. I'm saying that the Funkhauser process found out that there was not a hotel plan.
You're agreeing with Kevin Collison, the conversation has already taken place.
I think the conversation's taken place, but I would say that actually, remember, things change, times change.
I partially agree with Mary, and I agree with you too. I'm kind of in the middle on this because, yes, we've had lots of conversations, and at the end of the conversation, the situation remains the same. We need a hotel to bring in convention business. If we're going to do that, we've got to pay for it. And therein lies the conundrum. What are you going to do? How are you going to pay for the hotel? That's the bottom line. It's not a conversation of do we need it. It's how are you going to pay for it.
And it will have a big effect on Power and Light. It will make it part of making money for this city for a long time to come. And I think that's not an idle wish. I think it will happen.
In other words, this is like KCI change. If you want this, it's going to have to be sold.
Well, we're not
the public's going to have to be convinced. The argument has to be made in a positive way and convince people that is something they ought to be spending their money on.
Mayor with smart people working with him. You bet.
That's the way we've gotten everything else. They've convinced us to pay for it.
That's right. That's true.
And good jobs also.
And now it's on to Roast and Toast, or as we sometimes think of it, the Ruckett Rant. And we start tonight with guest ranter-in-chief, Steve Marakian.
I'm so angry, Mike. No, I'm not actually angry. This week, sadly, the world lost one of its leading ladies. And no, I'm not talking about Annette Funicello, though I did respect Annette greatly. Margaret Thatcher was the first female prime minister of Great Britain. And next to Winston Churchill, I believe, its most influential leader in the last 100 years. As a staunch ally of the U.S., the Iron Lady restored Great Britain's economic stability, its influence, and respect around the world. Margaret Thatcher once said, if you want something said, well, ask a man. If you want something done well, ask a woman. Well said and well done, Prime Minister. We're going to miss you.
Well, this is a toast to all the people who live along Ward Parkway. You know, Saturday morning there's going to be a race with about 8,000 people in it, and they will shut down a lot of streets going in and off of Ward Parkway. I'll be one of the runners along with about, as I said, 8,000 other people. We'll be inconveniencing you, but we'll also be raising money for Union Station and Science City and trying to get more conventioners because people will be coming from out of town for the Rock the Parkway race, now one of the most popular half marathons in the Midwest. So thank you in advance to all you Ward Parkway residents who will not be cursing and shouting at me as I pass you on Saturday morning.
Well, this roast just has to be at this particular time of Sam Brownback once again. I mean, you wouldn't believe what happened. You would believe. I'm going to tell you. He actually had a 2-minute press conference, all of 2 minutes, to discuss whether or not the state of Kansas would accept Obamacare's Medicaid program. as the governor of the state of Missouri is trying to get done in Missouri. And he gave 2 minutes to the reporters and said, well, he was trying very hard to see if he could make that work. But first he had to see if his budget could be made to work because, gee, he was really in debt because of the Sebelius administration. He actually said that. It was not anything to do with Kathleen Sebelius. And by the way, she could, with her Medicaid money, Governor, actually bail you out. I predict she's going to do it.
This is a roast to irresponsible parents who don't know where their children are after 10 p.m. on the Country Club Plaza or anywhere else in Kansas City. It's important for this city to have activities productive activities for young people to engage in, recreational activities, and the city is doing that. But as parents, you have the primary responsibility and accountability for knowing where your children are. And it's unconscionable to read in the newspaper that someone 7 years old is on the plaza involved in a melee and their parents are nowhere to be found.
And finally, as a longtime Kansas City, Kansas resident, I'm pleased to congratulate the incoming mayor, Mark Holland, and the new commissioners. Holland won by getting a significant 57% of the vote. Expectations are high for the new mayor, and that's why, even though it's still early spring, Wyandotte Countyans are already wishing each other happy Hollandays. That's Ruckus for this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Shannon. Good night.